My name is Ruth Vichos. I am the program team lead or program director for horticulture at Scotland's Rural College in Edinburgh. So I focus on the delivery of our higher education provision. And Nick actually just mentioned SRUC, so I was really happy to hear that we got a little plug there in our wildlife and conservation management courses. Um, what I wanted to do was really just talk about my journey and kind of where my kind of from school right through to where I am now and how I got here, but also then the impact that I have on young people and trying to get people into horticulture, because quite often people don't even know what it is. And actually, when I first started looking at careers and looking at jobs when I was at high school based on the hires that I was good at, which were things like biology and chemistry, what I was often guided towards was things like nursing and medicine um, and zoology, vet medicine, these kind of things. And I really wanted to be a vet. It was the one thing I wanted to do, but I am painfully allergic to animals. So unfortunately, that was something that I had to wipe out straight away. And through conversations with the career advisors where I grew up, which was up in Shetland, so a very rural community, um, I was directed towards nursing. And so I left Shetland and I went down to Queen Margaret in Edinburgh and I did a year and a half of nursing. So I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed my first year. And when I moved into the second year and I was really reflecting on why I was doing the course, I was very interested in helping people and being engaged with the patients that I was involved in. But something just wasn't quite right. It didn't quite fit what I was wanting to kind of achieve in a career. And I couldn't see myself being a nurse for the rest of my life. And it's a very valuable profession, but it just was not right for me. So I left, and kind of over a weekend, I actually decided that the course wasn't right. And then I moved down to the Channel Islands. I moved down to Jersey. My mum was there, so she said, "Right, move out your flat and off you go." And I spent a couple of years down there just working and getting some sort of just real world experience, I guess. I was working in HMV at the time. So again, just working with people a lot, and I really loved that. And I remember very distinctly getting a phone call from my dad one day, and he just said, "Ruth, it's about time that you get back into higher education. You're very bright, you've got all these hires, you've got some advanced hires in there, and you've always loved doing like working with plants. You love biology, plant biology, all these kind of things. So I found a course, and this is what you're going to do." I thought, okay, well that seems a bit forward, but fine. And he said it's a HNC, so it's just a 1 year course at SAC in Edinburgh, now SRUC, where I work now, in horticulture. And I thought, well, I have no idea what that is. I've never heard of horticulture in my life, not a term I am familiar with. And he said, well, it's like agriculture, but like fruits and vegetables and gardens and landscapes. And I think that you'll be really good at it. So then, all right, okay, fine. So the next thing we know, I'm back up in Edinburgh and I've started on this course and I loved it. I mean, don't tell him, but he was right. And I loved doing all the plant identifications. I was getting 95, 100% on them. Don't ask me to do that now. And I was learning about plant physiology, plant growth and development. I was in the lab. I was out in, doing practical amenity-based horticulture, and I just absolutely loved it. And so when it came to deciding if I was going to graduate or if I was going to progress, I didn't think too hard. I just decided I was going to progress because it just felt right. I felt like I'd found my place and I knew what I wanted out of it. And so I progressed onto the HND because I didn't want to commit to a full degree program at the time. So I moved into the HND, again, loved it, and then decided to progress again into the degree program. And it was when I was doing the degree that I realized that integrated crop management, so looking at how plants grow and how, as growers, we can optimize their growth through the integration of technologies and also just understanding their biology, and how they grow, how they develop, how they interact with their environment, and some of the cool, weird, and wonderful ways that we can manipulate them to, change color or grow taller or shorter. And, I just loved it. It was just so interesting and fascinating. And it was about that time that I started to remember why I was doing nursing in the first place as well, which was all around helping people and being sort of involved in the people side of anything really. And when I was then looking at integrated crop management, I started to get a real passion for trying to help people be like diversify what they're growing and providing like ideas of how they can make a bit more money. And there was a family friend that has an NGO that called the Eleanor Foundation. And he said, Ruth, you're so passionate about this, and we would love to have you come and do a bit of work with us to come up with some new ways of helping subsistence farmers in Tanzania come up with ways of diversifying their crops to make a bit of money and send their kids to school. And I just thought, this is it. This is the life for me. I am going to move to Tanzania. I absolutely loved it. It just felt the most perfect thing. And then I met my husband, my now husband, and he was very charming. And he wasn't really sold on the idea of moving to Tanzania, which was really disappointing. So I had to kind of reflect on what it was that I was going to do, because I did, I was very in love and, all of that. So again, my dad, again, don't tell him what an influence he's been on me. He suggested that I did one of those questionnaires that you can find out what sort of career would be ideal for you. And when I did that, teaching came out on top. And so I decided to do a City and Guilds, I think it was a level 3 award in teaching and training. And when I went to the training course, I was massively out of my depth. I had had no experience whatsoever, and the majority of the people on the course were doing it as CPD. They were already lecturers or trainers, and they already knew what they were doing. And I just remember sitting there going, I have no clue what is going on right now, but I am really interested, and I know that this, again, it started to feel right. So I did that, and they recommended that I get a bit of work experience. So I emailed the program lead, the then program lead. I've taken over from them, but the then program lead, and just said, can I get a bit of work experience? I just want to do some shadowing, just turn up. I don't mind making content, just getting a little bit of a feel for what teaching would be. And he replied saying, do you want a job? Um, very sort of fortuitous. There was someone who was on long-term sick, and they needed just 2 or 3 modules covered, and it was as if all of the stars just started to align. It was really quite incredible. So the next thing we know, Monday rolls around, and I turn up at now SRUC, was SAC when I was a student, SRUC, and I've never looked back. Teaching is just, for me, I just absolutely love it, and being able to help people, all that sort of people-centered approach that I've always had, but then being able to talk about all of these weird and wonderful things that we can do with plants and look at the science of them and how we can grow them. And I was able to bring everything together. And so now I've been a lecturer for 8 years, and have in 2 years ago took over as the program lead. So it's my responsibility to manage the programs, make sure that the curriculums are correct, look at the provision of what we have, all the marketing of our programs. And from doing that, I've very recently just finished as the qualification design lead for the SQA and also for our degree program. So I've just rewritten a big chunk of that, the HND right through to the BSc, the 4th year. So rewritten all of that, and that was such an amazing experience because I was able to liaise with the sector. So I've made loads of connections in the sector by just getting out there, talking to people. What does this core, what do you need from a qualification, and that kind of thing. So in addition to that, I'm on a cross-party group at Parliament with Liz Lantra and lots of other representatives. So again, sort of bringing together, meeting people and bringing people from the horticulture sector all together, and talking about what matters and trying to make some real positive change. And being able to represent higher education in that is quite an honour, I would say. And what are some of the other things that I've done? I'm a presenter on Beech Grove Garden. That's a new thing. Wild ride that is. Really good fun, but certainly very different to what I'm used to. But then another key part of my role is advising people and academic guidance, academic advice. And I know that we're joined by some sort of career influencers here. And I would say that if I could pass anything on, it would be to just be able to recognize that people who are interested in the sciences, that horticulture could be a really rewarding career for them, because for for Scotland, for the UK, for the world to be able to meet their food security targets, the climate change targets, biodiversity targets, horticulture is at the centre of all of that. And if you do have any young people that you are able to influence, pointing them to consider a career in horticulture would be what I would advocate and put a plea out for. I hope that has been interesting. I've had a bit of a wild ride, so I hope I hope you were able to keep up. And I'm really happy to answer any questions whatsoever that you might have.
Thank you so much for that, Ruth. Just going off the back of what you were saying about speaking with employers to find out what they were looking for as part of the kind of qualifications, what kind of things were coming through?
So a couple of different things. One is experience. Sort of already having experience, which is one of those sort of like a, a double-edged sword, because how do you get experience if you're in education? And how it's the question that we always have. Employers are looking for 10 years experience, but they're willing to not going to pay you for anything. This is a really big problem across all areas at the moment. So what we did with that was actually build in work placements. So it's a competency-based program now. So students actually have to go out and get work experience as part of their qualification. So they're out there, they're in the sector, they're gaining experience. And that was one of the key things that we have embedded into the program, is that industry engagement and that applicability, and kind of getting that experience whilst you're studying, because it can be really challenging. So that was one part. The second part was also thinking about the future. So we had to, as part of designing the qualifications, we actually had to predict. Part of it was, always almost looking into a crystal ball and predicting some of the skills that they're going to need. So mostly based around technology, looking at how we can enhance plant productivity, how we can look at climate resilient landscapes. Horticulture is such a broad sector, so trying to bring a bit of all of it was something that we were asked to try and integrate as much as we could. So yeah.
Fantastic. How would you suggest a young person go about looking for work experience? Obviously, you're saying it's part of the course. What sort of advice would you give them?
So, I mean, I would say that there's a lot of work placement, we call them work placement providers. There's a lot of employers out there who are, if you say, I'm interested in horticulture and I'd like to get a bit of experience, they will jump for joy, because it is similar to agriculture. We have the age of people who work in horticulture tends to be getting older, because we're not replacing. So they will jump for joy. So I would recommend, if you're interested, if there's a local grower near you, if or a nursery, or if there's a garden centre or whatever, just kind of go and have a chat and just see if they'd be willing to let you shadow for even just a couple of hours a week, or whatever, and try lots of different things. Horticulture is such a broad sector, and I would say that just trying a little bit of this and a little bit of that to get a feel for what it is that you'd be interested in would be what I would recommend.
Okay, how do you think horticulture can help address current issues like climate change and biodiversity loss?
I think it's the answer to all of it, if I'm honest, but that's probably just me. I'm the biggest advocate. Um, Plants are they absorb CO2 and they produce oxygen. They are the key to life. And the more plants we grow, the more plants we have in our gardens, in our landscapes, in our urban spaces, the the impact that that has on climate change is quite incredible. There's a really fantastic example in Medellin in Colombia. I'm going to get a bit nerdy now, and I hope you don't mind. Um, in Colombia, and it's called the Green Corridors Project. And in this city, they have planted huge expanses of really beautiful sort of urban landscapes. They've reduced the temperature of the city by 2 degrees. And not only that, they've reduced crime rates considerably because people are just happier when there's more plants. Um, Biodiversity a loss as well. The more plants we have, the less we'll lose, and propagation, looking at how we can grow more and preserve them and protect them is just absolutely vital.
So obviously you've spoken a little bit about the kind of route into it through higher education. Are there opportunities to learn in the workplace rather than college or university?
Yes, there absolutely are. So there's a variety of modern apprenticeships available. We also, if you are in the workplace, you can do courses part-time, and, kind of some higher education or further education providers as well offer some online courses. There's some RHS courses as well that are available that are more of a distance learning kind of thing that you could then, build the time in. But there's lots of different ways to get that learning and training to enter into the sector.
And what obviously you were talking about like kind of future skills and that. What kind of future jobs do you think there's going to be in this sector?
Well, I would say certainly around automation. So if you're interested in machinery, if you're interested in AI as well, so technology using AI in vertical farms and in plant nurseries is certainly something that it's here. I mean, in the Netherlands, it's everywhere, but certainly in Scotland, there's more technology being integrated than ever. So I would say around engineering and kind of bringing together engineering with biology is pretty cool.
Wow, that does sound quite interesting. Um, what is the most rewarding thing you've done in your career so far? It sounds like you've done quite a lot, but what would you pinpoint as the most rewarding?
I would say the most rewarding is graduation. So I attend graduation every year, and to see the students walk across the stage and get their qualification that I've had an influence in and being able to support them through their studies, whether it's a year, whether it's 4 years. And I would say that for me, that is the most rewarding thing that I get to do. Designing the qualification was probably a highlight, but redesigning. But I would say every year graduation is the best thing.
And what sort of things are included in the course if someone was to come on and do it?
It's very broad. So when you first start, so I deliver HNC level, so that's SCQF level 7. We do offer lower levels as well at our further education, but so I'm in the higher education side. And when you first join, we do 6 different modules to begin with, where you'll focus on plant biology. There's some garden and green space maintenance, so amenity. There's production, and there is social and community as well. So if you're interested in horticultural therapy and like the work that Trellis does, there's a lot of that in there as well. We look at ecology and environment, and we also do some design as well. So garden and green space design. So it's very broad to begin with. And as you progress through, we start to specialize. So we offer specialisms in plantsmanship in association with the Royal Botanic Garden in Edinburgh. We have production based and production science and plant science and technology. And we also have landscape design up to HND level as well. And then the plant science and technology and plantsmanship go off into the third, we call it third and fourth year of the degree. So broad.
Oh, fantastic. What do you think are the key skills people working in horticulture will need in the future?
Excuse me. Well, an understanding of plants is a good place to start. But skills, I would say, more around professional behaviors and competencies. So thinking about creativity is a big one, and looking at sort of innovative thinking. The sector at the moment is in quite a period of flux because we have the peat ban coming in, we have the integration of technology, we have a variety of different things that are impacting the sector. So skills in terms of being adaptable and being sort of forward thinking and innovative, creative, coming up with solutions to some of these problems, I think are what we embed more heavily than we've ever done before, so that people are ready and they're skilled at being adaptable and sort of problem solving, I would say. I know that's not practical skills, but they come with the course anyway.
No, that's what we're looking for. And obviously you were saying you had that opportunity to go off to Tanzania and help out over there. Do you regret ever like having not taken it, or?
No, I don't think so. No. Regret meeting my husband might be another matter. That's a joke. I'm joking. No, I still do the work anyway. Now and again, I'm able to go out and still support, so I still get to do that. But I think when I did that training, the teaching, the questionnaire, and then went on that training course, for me, that was when all the stars aligned. And education, I think, is the foundation of everything. So, and I just feel really, really, honestly, honored being able to be in a position that I'm in, and I wouldn't regret it or change it.
And what would you say to young people maybe living in more urban areas that maybe traditionally think that these aren't the types of jobs that are kind of available for them?
Oh, I would say that would be completely incorrect to think so. Horticulture particularly is becoming more urban every year, and there are policies coming in looking at green space, looking at urban environments, urban agriculture, although it's mostly horticulture because we're looking at fruits and vegetables and flowers and greening cities. All of that comes through horticulture. So I would say now more than ever, and with urbanization as you know growing and growing, now more than ever, it is absolutely for people who live in cities.
Fantastic. And for those young people thinking about following on those careers that are in the urban areas, is there support for them to kind of maybe move out to the college and study there? Is there any kind of accommodation?
So we're actually so SRUC has 6 campuses. The campus that I'm based at is in Edinburgh. We also have a campus in Glasgow as well. So we have 2 urban campuses. In addition to that, we do have rural campuses as well at Oatridge and West Lothian. We also have Elmwood, which is in Cooper in Fife. So those are the 4 that we deliver horticulture. We also have other courses at Aberdeen and down at Barony as well. But we have a mix already, 2 urban, 2 rural. So you're kind of covered already.
Fantastic. That's really good for I think for young people to know that those opportunities are there for them, particularly
Yes.
more in their local area that they've maybe not thought about.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're Edinburgh based, or if you want to come and check out the campus. We're at King's Buildings near Cameron Toll. Just give us a Google. And we have open days. We have an open day coming up week after next, 20th. So if you are interested in looking at the horticulture courses, just sign up to an open day and come along.
Fantastic. It's really good to know that those kind of opportunities are there. And are you thinking of staying with SRUC for the foreseeable future? Are you quite enjoying?
Who knows what the future will bring? For the foreseeable, yes, I'm definitely where I feel like I want to be. So, but who knows? I've made a series of decisions in my life that have seemingly worked out. So you never know
And
what the future will bring.
for young people, maybe obviously you were saying originally you thought animal care as your kind of passion, and you kind of moved into this. For young people on that kind of swither in between animal care and horticulture, what would you say to kind of convince them to jump over into horticulture?
Well, there's what springs to mind is probably something that I shouldn't say, but I'm going to say it anyway. And it was something that my dad said to me when I was looking at leaving nursing, obviously dealing with people or with animals. Um, if plants die, it's not as much of a problem. I know that sounds awful. I'm joking. No, I would say that, like I said before, thinking about how we can save save the planet from the biodiversity crisis, from the climate change crisis. I genuinely believe that horticulture is one of the only sectors that can positively contribute by doing more rather than scaling back what they're doing. So that's what I would say.